Hey, welcome everybody. It is the early show for The Awakening World on Saturday night, February 5th. And I'm really excited because we are here this weekend supporting the launch of what's going to be a life changing program for, well, definitely thousands. I'm going to picture millions of people. One of my dearest friends is Steve Roland, and he holds the record for taking my Relationship Essentials course the most times. He took it 4 times. And because he so loves relationship and is so dedicated to relationship, he got a vision, and that was to create a company called RelationFlix with leading teachers, relationship coaches, videos, a platform where people can go to get all their relationship needs met. And he first told me about this vision a few years ago, and I was like, yeah. And this guy has worked his butt off doing it, making it happen. And he's brought together an incredible team of teachers and his partner Dolphin, who we'll meet in a moment. And this is it. This weekend is when they are launching and getting things going. So, right off the bat, it is my pleasure to introduce you to someone I love. He's my friend. This is Steve Roland. Hey, Stephen, congratulations.
Hey, thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. Yeah, I will happily accept the title of reigning Scott Katamas courses champion.
And now getting it out there to the world through RelationFlix.
Yeah, absolutely. RelationFlix is it's a video subscription service platform that's specializing in e-courses and educational video content on relationships, intimacy, dating, communication skills, conflict resolution, psychology, attachment theory, grief and trauma healing, yeah, personal development. There's a very nicely well-rounded batch of high produced video content. You know, the people who've been shooting video content with us are pro videographers and filmmakers, and so we've really made it important to keep the quality bar as high as possible while having incredible experts as well, and a bunch of them are here tonight.
Yeah, well, wait until you guys talking about Zoom room. Wait till you meet the amazing teachers tonight. Really, really great teachers. And Stephen, do you want to? Yeah, go ahead. Show. You can show your video.
Yep. No, I just putting the graphic on for now.
Oh, okay. Um,
Yeah.
I'm gonna remove myself from the screen for a moment. But I'd love for you to introduce your partner Dolphin and then the other RelationFlix teachers that are with us for this early Zoom room chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one of the first people that I told about RelationFlix was you, Scott, and it's just been a joy collaborating with you with the several video shoots that we've done together, and I'm just watching the edited videos of your content. I keep having this moment of being like, like this is incredible content that's going to make such a huge difference in people's lives, and it's nice that we've created a platform where people can access it for a low price point as well. So
Yeah.
it's very accessible, and so very grateful to have you on board, Scott. And one of the very next people that I told about it was Dolphin Casper, and at the time that I had this conversation with Dolphin, at the time, it's this is still true for me now. I hold Dolphin in extraordinarily high regard. He is one of the most heart-centered, high integrity, clear, confident, stable, secure, masterful men that I know. And having him say such a warm-hearted yes to the project, and having him as a co-pilot over the last couple of years as we put our blood, sweat, and tears to bringing this thing to life, it's just been an honor and a treat and a privilege to work with him. So I'm really grateful to be here with you, Dolphin.
Stephen, the feeling is mutual. I mean, we knew each other for several years before we even sat down to co-create and collaborate, and all those interactions were fantastic. And so it wasn't just the idea, although the idea got me fired up, but it was also just the way I know you move, the way you communicate. Getting into business with someone is like getting into bed with someone. It involves more than what you can kind of get into on first glance. And so I felt good about participating in something with someone that I knew had such high integrity It's been a pleasure. It's been challenging. Sometimes our eyeballs are kind of itchy and bloodshot, and we're wearing all the hats. But to me, birthing something like this that so aligns with the things that I do professionally, but also the kinds of things that I want to bring to the world, it's been a pleasure. I've been honored to be included. So thanks for the introduction, and thanks for the continued partnership that I appreciate so much. I'm going to just briefly introduce the educators that are here in the room with us, that are on the RelationFlix platform. I love them all. I've had a chance to interact and feel some of their magic. And so I'll just give like a brief introduction. They'll get a chance to kind of tell you a bit more about themselves. But Erika Briones had a chance to meet and sit down with for a podcast recently. She is the pleasure shaman, and she has the most incredible story. Inspiring and heartening to where we can come from and where we can go in spite of challenges that might come up in our lives. So Erika, an absolute pleasure to have you on board. Thank you for being with us. Am I going to roll, or should someone else want to jump in? I don't mind. I can do.
I want to say something about Erika as well.
Yeah. Okay. Go.
And I met Erika online, and I was awestruck by the level of wisdom and power that she just radiates with her content. And as soon as I started engaging with her presence online, I was like, yes, this is exactly the type of people that we want on the platform. So I just wanted to acknowledge you, Erika, that it's been really great to get to know you better and experience your magic, and just play together in a way where we get to deliver that to more eyeballs.
Cool. Okay, and so next is Paul Sterling. I met Paul not that long ago, but the way Steven spoke about him, I knew I wanted to meet him. I knew I wanted to hear him do his thing. And the thing that is striking about Paul is how authentic and personable he is, and how much sort of ease by which he navigates very complex ideas and boils them down to their essence, and just lands super practical wisdom and knowledge in people's hands so they can go around and like right now have a better relationship. And he's just a joy to hang out with and listen to. And she showed us a bunch of pictures of his childhood earlier today, which I feel closer to you now, Paul, after that intimate share about your life and about your family and where you came from. So just absolute honor to have you with us on the platform. And as I say to all of our educators, like, we want this to be the beginning of a long-term partnership where we get to play in the sandbox all the time. So Paul, thank you so much for choosing to be with us.
Yeah, thank you. It's an honor, and what you guys have done is amazing. And I've never seen anything like it before. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks.
Right on.
Yeah, it's so good to have you, Paul.
Mike Thomas, also I've known for now quite a number of months. And it's one of those things, like, Mike, I feel like you're like family. I don't know, when we first talked, it was like just the ease by which we related felt really aligned with me. So Mike has another one of those stories where you listen to him speak about his life and you think, holy crap, that's a lot, that's intense, and look at what you've done with it. It's inspiring. He's so much involved in well-being and health, not just from a mental, relational level, but also the body. Like, how do we get into our body in a more clean, clear, present way? He's big into Tai Chi and all of the ways we can kind of move the mind and the body as one. Really appreciate that work you do. And he brings that knowledge of the body into his coaching work with people, and the way he speaks about polyvagal theory and attachment science, and what does it mean to become a master of regulating the nervous system in a way that allows for a groundedness and presence in relationship. And I love what you bring. So thank you for being with us.
Wow, thank you so much for that introduction, Dolphin. That was beautiful. I'm so honored to be a part of RelationFlix, and having gotten to know you and Steven, and I already know Erika, and getting to know Scott. I can't wait to meet everyone else on the team. It's just been a joy. So thank you for having me.
Yeah,
pleasure. Looking forward to the in-person RelationFlix conference.
No doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Cool.
just
So
want to say a quick piece about Mike too. Mike, one thing I can say about Mike is when we were doing the video shoot together, we shot I think like a 16 or 17 episode e-course over 2 days, and I was just floored by just how in the pocket you were in your flow delivering what you do on camera. I was just like, it was just this outpouring of wisdom from you, and sitting there behind the camera being like, this content's dynamite and it's going to make a big difference in people's lives. And so I wanted to acknowledge you for that for sure.
Thank you so much. And I'm sure everyone else with experience having Stephen behind the camera makes it so easy to just have everything flow. But thank you.
Cheers.
So shall I continue? Stephen, do you want to introduce Michael?
I had such a great time filming with Michael in San Diego in I think it was in early August or late July last year. And it was kind of like, I was actually like admittedly a little bit starry-eyed because Michael's a published author, and he also has this really incredible card deck that he's developed. And yeah, just getting to hang out with someone who's like on their purpose and creating really cool things with the world. It was just it was a real treat. And I had a great time with you at lunch that day too, Michael. And I just kind of like a side personal note, I'm still touched by your generosity with that. And I just had a great time shooting with you. And your content looks amazing. It's going to look amazing on the platform. And I'm super excited to have you, Michael. So there we go.
Thank you,
Great
Stephen.
to be here with you tonight. Yeah.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
And you guys still have Sheza to introduce.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So I introduced Sheza earlier today, and I'm probably going to say the exact same thing again from her other thing, because it's rich and true and alive. And so I met Sheza at the Hawaii Tantra Festival in 2016, and we got paired up with for an exercise together in a workshop. I believe it was like a conflict resolution and communication workshop. And the exercise that we did together was a process of working through like a hypothetical conflict. And there was just this like extraordinary level of ease and mastery that I observed Sheza show up with. Like, my recollection is that we were actually done the exercise early because of how easy it was for us to just kind of drop right into a nice flow together. And I was kind of just struck by like, wow, this woman's a badass. Like, what an extraordinary communicator, and just super empowered. And the way that she uses her voice is just remarkable. So that struck me. And then when we had the conversation about collaborating on some RelationFlix content, there was this like really cool moment, because we're back having a dialogue over a Zoom call, and there's just like this like really nice amplified energy and synergy that I felt. And it was just an easy, again, conversation to have, tons of flow. And I also have a lot of respect for you for how much of an advocate for empowered, joyful expression that you are. Like, you're the kind of person whose content that you put out, the content is amazing, and the way that you deliver your wisdom and life experience is it's super unique, and it's charismatic, and it's radiant. And then there's also like the Sheza factor. There's like a Sheza factor where it's like you just being you, who you are, and and radiating who you are. Like, that's medicinal on its own. Like, the content's amazing, but at some level, it actually doesn't matter what you're saying because of who you are. So anyways, that's the regard that I hold you in, and it's great to be here with you tonight, Sheza.
And I'm just receiving all of that. Yum. Thank you so much. And I'm so happy to be here on this platform. I know this is such a love child of Stephen and Dolphin, and I know that they have put so much effort into this, and I feel in my bones this is going to be a wild success. So I'm so grateful to be a part of it.
I'm going to come in for a second, and we've got 13 minutes until we go live on Facebook, so now we've gotten some great introductions. A couple of Scott the producer notes. Sheza, after we get started, if there's anything you can do to get closer to your router, because your internet connection is wobbly. It's a little, I don't know if there's anything you can do to improve your internet
Okay.
connection, but we want to have the complete Sheza experience. So something to think about. And then I'm going to offer a question, and each of you are going to have about 90 seconds to answer this question. And that is, what is the most important piece of relationship wisdom you've received in your life? And if you want to acknowledge a mentor or a coach, you can. But the most important part is, what's the most important thing that you learned from somebody? See, tonight and this weekend, we're learning from all of you, but who's somebody or something you learned that really impacted your life? And I'll just make it popcorn style. So I'm going to open it up to anybody who wants to share first. And if not, I'll call on Steve Roland.
Yeah, I'm here. I volunteered and I'm not even ready to volunteer, so I'm just going to freestyle it here. So I remember a moment where I was at a retreat that was hosted by you and Emily, and there was a moment where I was really, really touched, and it was just kind of like, I guess this is an homage to how incredible working with you two was. There was a moment where I was opening up in this space about something really tender, painful, and vulnerable. And Scott, you were there just rocking your magical compassion and empathetic demeanor like you do. And I just felt so held and safe to be able to unravel this tender, painful piece that was alive at the moment. And at the tail end of my share, Emily walked in the door, and without even being there, she heard maybe like the last 30 seconds of about a 5-minute share, and with like a razor sharp clarity, she spoke to exactly the root of the pain pattern that I was going through, and was able to translate it into really crystal clear language. Like, I felt so exquisitely held by you and deeply seen by her at the same time. And there's just like such a magic to that synergy. And what that did was provide a frame of reference for me for what's possible with skill set, for holding space with people and really being in compassion and empathy for someone, as well as having such a high level of attunement, so that we can like really drop into someone's world and feel and get to know what their reality is. And I thought you both were just exquisite role models for that.
Well, thank you. And you don't even know this, Stephen, but Emily is going to show up tonight for the after show. So you'll get a chance
fun.
to see Emily. And the Emily we're talking about was my partner for 5 years. She's awesome. She'll be on the after show tonight, and she's one of our featured presenters next week as we continue this theme of relationship next week. And tonight's after show, you'll get a chance to meet her. So while you were talking, I pulled that up, and I didn't know Stephen was going to share that, so this is all kind of spontaneous. All right, who else would like to share a teaching, something that has really impacted your life? Sheza.
So I, like so many of us, grew up with a lot of nagging energy. Like, you did this, you did that, you, and kind of this deep disappointment in how someone else is showing up, from anywhere from like how they're showing up for you, how they're showing up for the house, but this like, this disappointment. And that was like a huge blueprint that kind of came into me, is that when you're disappointed in someone, you really just have to speak it and, talk about your disappointment. And what I learned is the power, through a lot of mistakes and a lot of like crazy relationships, is the power of appreciation, and the power to first speak of appreciation in someone else, and how that can open their heart to then have a deeper conversation about, oh, what might, how can, stating my needs or my desires, but leading with appreciation and looking for the positive rather than always going, and how that person has shown up for you, leading with that rather than the disappointment and annoyance.
Wow, that's so true. The importance of gratitude and being appreciation. When we appreciate someone or we receive appreciation, our little receptor cells get all happy and we open. Conversely, when somebody is criticizing us or we perceive that we're being judged, criticized, blamed, or shamed, we contract and our reptile brain takes over. So, absolutely, it's an art form that many of these teachers have learned of how to be in gratitude as much as possible. So, thank you for sharing that one, Sheza. And Sheza, if there's anything you can do to improve your internet connection, because you are in the red zone.
Oh,
So,
okay. I'll
gotta
go
let you
try a
talk.
different room, and we can try before we go live if we have time. I'll go try a different room.
Paul Sterling, I'm putting the spotlight on you of what you might want to share.
There's so many mentors, so much magic. I'm going to pick an odd one, and I talked about it earlier today. I look at my life before and after Marshall Rosenberg and understanding his nonviolent communication, the observations, the feelings, the needs, the requests, being able to translate hard to hear messages into the beautiful underlying requests is profound. But I'm going to pick one quote that's not heard much from Marshall, but I'm an advocate of it. And that quote is, the normal outcome of most communication is misunderstanding. And if we understand that in the beginning, we don't think something's wrong when we're not being understood. We're going, this is what normal communication is. Normally it takes 2, 3, sometimes 4 times, sometimes 10 times of saying the same thing to get it clearly connected between two people. So it's so important for people to slow down, do a little chunk at a time, and connect and ask, can you tell me what you heard me say? Oh, you heard that? Let me try again. I thought I said I love you. You heard that you think I'm judging you. And so it's really important to check in and find out what they heard. And that's so much more important than focusing on what I said, is focusing on what you heard. So thank you, Scott.
Yeah, thank you very much for bringing Marshall Rosenberg into the mix. Almost all of us have been so deeply influenced one way or the other by Marshall. Certainly it changed my life when I was hired to do the television and video work with him, traveled with him, and that's when I shifted from Scott, the writer, director, producer guy, to Scott, the coach, was Marshall's influence. So thank you for bringing him into our consciousness, Paul. And do you want to just talk briefly about Bob Proctor, since we're going to be doing a tribute to Bob tonight?
Sure, I would love to talk about Bob Proctor. I was just talking to a friend, and that we met him together probably of 25, 30 years ago. And Bob was an amazing human being and a contribution. And he started back with Earl Nightingale. He was one of the early people that I got that started to understand, if I change the way I think, I'll change my life. If I can imagine it in my head, I can hold it in my hand. And to actually see that strong correlation between that. And there's hardly a new age thinker, leader, believer out there that hasn't studied with Bob Proctor. Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield created Chicken Soup for the Soul in a Bob Proctor workshop. He's just been such a thought leader, generous. And I talked to him a little while ago before he passed away. I talked to his wife yesterday, and it's like he leaves a legacy. There's a huge gap where Bob has left, and he left behind. He was part of The Secret. He's written stuff about Napoleon Hill. He's written books. He's been in movies. He is just one of those incredibly generous, caring, walking, talking, personal growth machines.
Wow. Well, thank you, Paul. We probably only have time for one more person to share before we got to get ready for Facebook time. Who would like to share one more thought about a teaching or a mentor or something that Mike Thomas, fantastic. You got it, Mike.
So I hold Marshall Rosenberg in high regard as well. And so I'm going to shift to another teaching around how important it is to connect to the body, regulate your nervous system more effectively so that you can connect more deeply in relationships. That was a key piece for me in my learnings and in my career to understand that, as Bessel van der Kolk teaches, esteemed traumatologist, the body keeps the score. Your body tells you exactly what's going on inside. It sets sort of the internal program for what you're capable of doing. So when you experience anxiety, it's your body telling you that there's a threat that's being perceived. If it's going into a shutdown experience, you've been stressed for a really long time. And this brings me back to something that's very near and dear to my heart, that is connecting to relationship to self, so that I can bring my authentic presence into relationship, in intimate relationships and friendships, and be there fully. And before I recognized that, I just kept hitting wall after wall in my own healing journey. I fully believe that my IQ jumped about 30 points, and I went from being lacking coordination to having a pretty solid mastery of my body in a lot of ways. And it all came from connecting to the body rather than trying to convince myself that I was capable of things that I wasn't, until I created safety in my body. So that teaching around listening to the body first and then moving up into the mind has been life-changing for me.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, everybody. We didn't get a chance to hear from a few people, but we're going to hear from everybody, of course, throughout the show tonight. And for Stephen and Dolphin, you're going to have to come up with different introductions because you don't want to repeat for. So you get to come up with something else wonderful to say about people that you're going to introduce. I want to really thank all of the people in our Zoom room. I see so many of our regulars, so many people that I love. Bonnie and Connie, and if I start naming the names, then people are going to feel sad because I don't mention your name. But I want you to know that as I'm seeing all of you here with us, I just love this community that is growing. So thank you very, very much for being such an important part